I watch Linda's perfectly manicured fingers tap against her wine glass, each click like a timer, counting down to detonation. The crystal catches the chandelier light, throwing prisms across our family dinner table, a table that's about to become ground zero for what I've spent months dreading. "So Peyton," she says, drawing out my name like it's something distasteful. "Ryan tells me you're still working part-time at that clinic." Her lips curl slightly, the way they always do when she talks about my nursing career. "I'm Peyton, and until 6 months ago, I thought I was living the dream. Loving husband, adorable 2-year-old, and a career that actually meant something." Then Ryan dropped the bomb about moving in with his parents to save money, and my dream started looking more like a carefully orchestrated nightmare. "The clinic's doing well," I say, cutting into my untouched chicken. "We're actually expanding our pediatric services. Wouldn't it be better to focus on being a proper wife and mother?" Linda interrupts, her voice carrying across the table. "Ryan needs support in his career, and little Dominic needs stability. Not a mother who's always running around." Ryan shifts in his seat beside me, but says nothing. His father, Mark, pretends to be fascinated by his mashed potatoes, and Tom, Ryan's brother, suddenly finds his phone absolutely riveting. "I am supporting my family," I say, gripping my fork tighter. "And Dominic is perfectly, oh please." Linda waves her hand dismissively. "Let's be honest here. You're just Ryan's wife. Your little nursing job is hardly essential to this family's well-being. Now that you're living under our roof, it's time to understand your proper place." The silence that follows is deafening. I look at Ryan, waiting for him to defend me, to say something, anything. He clears his throat, reaches for his water glass, and mumbles, "Mom's just trying to help, honey." My chest tightens as I watch my 2-year-old son happily smashing peas with his spoon, blissfully unaware of the tension. I think about our apartment, now sitting empty, waiting for new tenants, about how Ryan convinced me this move would be temporary, just until we saved enough for a down payment on a house. "I've raised successful children," Linda continues, her voice dripping with false concern. "Ryan's doing so well in marketing, and Tom's photography business is thriving. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to family dynamics." I stand up suddenly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Excuse me," I manage to say, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "I need to check on something upstairs." As I leave, I hear Linda's stage whisper, so sensitive, "Really, Ryan, I don't know what you were thinking." In the guest bathroom, our bathroom now, I grip the marble countertop and stare at my reflection. The woman looking back at me seems different somehow, harder around the edges. This isn't just about tonight's dinner. It's about the subtle digs, the rearranging of my things without asking, the way Linda undermines every parenting decision I make with Dominic. A soft knock on the door makes me jump. "Peyton, it's Tom. You okay in there?" "Fine," I call back, though we both know it's a lie. "Listen," he says through the door, "I know my mother can be difficult, but maybe if you just what?" I snap, yanking the door open. "Just let her walk all over me, just give up my career, just become Linda's perfect little puppet." Tom takes a step back, surprised by my outburst. "That's not what I—" "No, of course not. Nobody ever says what they really mean in this house, do they?" I brush past him and head back downstairs, where I can hear Linda's voice floating up from the dining room, probably sharing more opinions about my inadequacies. Something shifts inside me, a subtle click, like tumblers, falling into place. I've been trying so hard to fit into this family, to be the perfect daughter-in-law, but maybe it's time for a different approach. After all, Linda's not the only one who knows how to play games. And I'm starting to think it's time I learned the rules. 3 days after the dinner incident, I'm folding laundry in what used to be Ryan's childhood bedroom, when Linda's voice drifts up from downstairs. She's on the phone, using that sugary sweet tone that makes my skin crawl. "Oh yes, Margaret, it's wonderful having them here. Though I do worry about little Dominic, being left with those daycare workers while his mother gallivants around playing nurse." The shirt in my hands, One of Ryan's work shirts twists as my fingers clench. I've been hearing variations of this conversation all week, always when Linda thinks I'm out of earshot. My phone buzzes. It's my sister Ella. How's life in the dragon's lair? Before I can respond, Dominic's wail pierces the air. I rush downstairs to find him sprawled on the kitchen floor, Linda hovering over him with a disapproving frown. I told him not to run, she says, making no move to comfort him. But of course, he doesn't listen. Just like I scoop up my son, checking his knees for scrapes. It's okay, baby. Mama's got you. You're coddling him, Linda announces, turning back to her phone. Margaret, let me call you back. I need to teach my daughter-in-law proper parenting techniques. The way she says daughter-in-law makes it sound like a communicable disease. I press my lips to Dominic's forehead, using the moment to compose myself. He's two, Linda. He fell. It's normal to comfort. When Ryan was that age, I'm not you. The words come out sharper than intended. Dominic hiccups against my shoulder, his sobs quieting. Linda's eyes narrow. Clearly not. Ryan turned out perfectly fine under my guidance. Your modern approaches to parenting leave much to be desired. Mark chooses this moment to shuffle in from his study, newspaper in hand. He glances between us, then retreats to the living room without a word. Typical. Where is Ryan? I ask, suddenly aware I haven't seen my husband all morning. Working late again, Linda says, with a pointed look. He's very dedicated to his career. Unlike some people who treat their jobs as hobbies, I settle Dominic in his high chair with some crackers. My movements deliberately slow and controlled. My nursing career isn't a hobby. I save lives. You work part-time at a walk-in clinic, Linda scoffs. Hardly brain surgery. Now, about dinner. I'm thinking of inviting the Hendersons over. Ryan mentioned wanting to network with James about that marketing position. My head snaps up. What marketing position? Linda's smile is pure poison. Oh, didn't Ryan tell you? James's firm is looking for a senior coordinator, much better salary than his current position. Of course, it would mean longer hours, more travel. She pauses meaningfully. Someone would need to be home, more with Dominic. The pieces click into place. This isn't just about control anymore. It's about systematically dismantling my independence. Get Ryan a demanding new job. Force me to quit nursing. Make me completely dependent on them. I need to start dinner, Linda continues, pulling ingredients from the fridge. Unless you'd like to help, though perhaps it's best if I handle it. Last time you cooked, the chicken was rather dry. I watch her move around the kitchen, her kitchen, as she constantly reminds me, and something shifts in my chest, a hardening like scar tissue, forming over a wound. Actually, I say, lifting Dominic from his chair, I think we'll go visit Aunt Ella for dinner. Linda's hands still over the vegetables. That's not necessary. Family should eat together. We are family, I say, gathering Dominic's things, just not the kind you approve of. As I head for the door, Linda calls out, Ryan won't like this, you know. He values family loyalty above all else. I turn back, meeting her gaze. Funny thing about loyalty, Linda, it works both ways. The door closes behind us with a satisfying click, but I know this is just the beginning. Linda's been playing this game for decades. She has Ryan wrapped around her finger, Mark under her thumb, and now she wants to add me to her collection of perfectly controlled family members. But she's about to learn something important. Some people don't break under pressure. They get sharp. The email from Dr. Stevens hits my inbox at 2:47 p.m., right as I'm finishing my shift at the clinic. Urgent meeting requested. Performance concerns. My stomach drops as I scan the message, picking out phrases like multiple complaints and professional conduct review. I find Tom in the hospital parking lot, his camera gear slung over his shoulder. He's been photographing a charity event in the pediatric ward. You got a minute? Actually, I've got something you need to see. He pulls out his phone, swipes through a few screens, then hands it to me. It's a security camera feed from the clinic's front desk, dated 3 days ago. Linda stands there, perfectly coiffed, speaking animatedly to our receptionist. She's been here 4 times in the past month, Tom says quietly. Always, when you're with patients. My hands shake as I watch the footage. How did you, I have friends in IT, started looking into things after that dinner? He takes his phone back, jaw tight. There's more. She's been calling your supervisor, claiming she's witnessed concerning behavior during your home visits with patients. The pieces click together, the whispered phone calls, Linda's smug smiles whenever I mention work, the sudden cold shoulder from some of my regular patients. She's trying to get me fired. Peyton! Ryan's voice cuts through the parking lot. He strides toward us, face dark with anger. Mom just called. Said she saw you sneaking around with Tom. What the hell? Tom steps forward. Ryan, listen. Stay out of this, Ryan snaps. You've always had a thing for undermining me, haven't you? First with Dad's business, now with my wife. Your wife? I laugh. The sound harsh, even to my own ears. Funny, I thought I was just the hired help who happens to share your bed. That's how your mother treats me. Don't start with that again. Mom's trying to help us build a better life. If you'd just... Better for who, Ryan? I thrust my phone at him, showing Dr. Stevens's email. Did you know your mother's been trying to destroy my career? He barely glances at the screen. You're being dramatic. Mom wouldn't. Show him the footage, I tell Tom. Ryan waves it away. I don't need to see whatever you two have cooked up. Mom warned me you might try something like this. Said you've been acting erratic, making accusations. Erratic? My voice rises. Your mother is systematically trying to destroy everything I've built, and you're calling me erratic? A few people have stopped to watch. Tom touches my arm. Maybe we should take this somewhere private. No, I shake him off. I'm done hiding. Ryan, your mother came to my workplace. She filed false complaints. She's trying to get me fired because it doesn't fit her perfect little plan for our lives. If you'd just quit that job like she suggested. The laugh that escapes me is borderline hysterical. You mean like she ordered? Like she's ordered everything else since we moved in. Our schedules, our parenting, our entire lives. She knows what's best for this family. This isn't a family, Ryan. It's a dictatorship. His face hardens. If you can't appreciate what my parents have done for us, maybe you should leave. The words hang between us, heavy with finality. Behind Ryan, I see Linda's car pulling into the lot, and something inside me snaps into crystal clarity. You know what? You're right. I step back, looking between the brothers. I should leave. But first, I want you to know something. Your mother isn't trying to help us. She's trying to control us. And one day, when she's stripped away everything that makes you who you are, you'll realize what you've lost. Linda emerges from her car, triumph written across her face. She must have followed Ryan here, expecting to witness my humiliation. Instead, she finds me standing straight, unflinching. Oh good, she says, voice dripping honey. We can discuss this as a family. No, Linda, we can't. I turn to Ryan one last time. When you're ready to be a husband instead of a son, you know where to find me. Until then, I pull out my clinic badge and hand it to him. Congratulations. Your mother finally got what she wanted. I walk away, leaving them in the parking lot. But as I reach my car, I hear Tom call out, I have copies of everything. When you're ready. I nod without turning around. Linda wanted a war, fine. But she's about to learn that some battles can't be won with just manipulation and money. Some require a different kind of ammunition altogether. Ella's spare bedroom feels like a confessional at 3 a.m. I sit cross-legged on the borrowed bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone, while Dominic sleeps in the portable crib beside me. Each swipe reveals another memory tainted by Linda's influence. Holidays, birthdays, our wedding day. She's there in every frame, orchestrating, controlling, smiling that razor-sharp smile. A soft knock interrupts my thoughts. Ella stands in the doorway, two steaming mugs in hand. Tom's here. I follow her to the kitchen, where Tom sits at the counter, a manila envelope in front of him. His face is drawn, like he hasn't slept in days. "You should sit down," he says. Inside the envelope are bank statements, investment records, and emails. Lots of emails. My hands shake as I read through them. These are from our joint account. Linda's been moving money around for months, Tom explains. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers disguised as investment opportunities, all going into accounts controlled by her and Dad. Ella leans over my shoulder. "How much?" "Almost everything," I whisper. The numbers blur before my eyes. "Our savings, Dominic's college fund." "There's more." Tom pulls out his phone, plays a recording. Linda's voice fills the kitchen. "Of course we'll return it once Ryan sees reason. He needs to understand that independence is earned, not given. And if his wife continues to be difficult." The recording cuts off. Nobody speaks for a long moment. "Why are you showing me this?" I ask Tom. He runs a hand through his hair. "Because I was like Ryan once, blind to what they were doing. It took losing everything, my business, my marriage, to see the truth." "When did you?" 3 years ago. Dad invested in my photography studio, except the investment came with strings. Every decision, every contract had to go through them. When I refused, he shrugs. "The money disappeared, just like yours is disappearing." My phone buzzes. "Ryan." I've been ignoring his calls since I left. But this time I answer. "What?" "Come home," he says immediately. "Mom's worried sick about Dominic. She says you're being irrational, and, did you know?" My voice is steady, surprising even me. "About the money." A pause. "Mom's protecting our future. You're too emotional to see." "Stop." I press my fingers to my temple. "Just stop. Your mother isn't protecting anything except her control over you, over us. If you'd just apologize." "For what?" "For wanting to work? For not wanting to be Linda's puppet? For discovering she's stealing from our son's future." Another pause, longer this time. "What are you talking about?" I look at Tom, who nods. "Check the joint account, Ryan. Really check it. Then ask your mother about the transfers to Maritime Investment Group. That's Dad's company," he says slowly. "Exactly." The line goes quiet, except for the sound of typing. Then, "This can't be right. There must be some mistake." "No mistake. Your mother's been bleeding us dry, and you've been too busy being the perfect son to notice." "I need to talk to Mom." "Of course you do." I hang up, feeling something break and mend inside me simultaneously. Ella touches my arm. "What are you going to do?" I look at the evidence spread across her counter. Proof of Linda's manipulation, of her calculated destruction of my life. Then I think about Dominic, sleeping upstairs, innocent and unaware that his grandmother is stealing his future. "Tom," I say, "those copies you mentioned, how many do you have?" "Enough. Plus, access to more through Dad's computer. He's not as careful with passwords as he thinks." I gather the papers, arranging them with precise movements. "Linda wants to play games. Fine. But she's about to learn that some people fight back." "Peyton," Ella warns, "revenge won't fix this. This isn't about revenge anymore." I meet her concerned gaze. "It's about justice. For Dominic. For Tom. For everyone she's ever controlled and discarded." Tom's phone buzzes. A text from Ryan. He's confronting them now. I imagine the scene. Ryan demanding answers. Linda spinning her web of justifications. Mark retreating into silence. But this time they can't hide behind their lies. "Let them talk," I say. A plan forming in my mind. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. The kitchen falls silent, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Outside, the sky's beginning to lighten, marking the start of a new day. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I feel something like hope. Or maybe it's determination. Either way, Linda's reign is about to end. The doorbell chimes just as I'm finishing my third job application of the morning. Through Ella's front window, I spot Linda's Mercedes in the driveway, and my whole body tenses. Don't answer it, Ella says from the kitchen, but I'm already moving toward the door. After a week of silence, I want to see Linda's face when she realizes her perfect plan is unraveling. She stands on the porch in her designer suit, holding a manila envelope identical to Tom's. We need to talk. About the money you stole from my son. Linda's smile doesn't waver. About your emotional instability. Ryan's very concerned. She waves the envelope. I have documentation from several healthcare professionals about your episodes. My laugh sounds hollow even to my own ears. Let me guess, doctors you know personally? Like the ones who filed complaints about me at the clinic. I'm trying to help you, dear. These outbursts, these paranoid accusations, they're not healthy for Dominic. The mention of my son's name ignites something in my chest. Don't you dare. I've already spoken with Child Protective Services. She delivers this like she's announcing the weather. Given your recent behavior, your history of anxiety, and now abandoning your home, the world tilts sideways. You're trying to take my son. We're trying to protect him. Ryan's already agreed to temporary custody arrangements. My fingers grip the door frame. Ryan would never. He signed the papers this morning. She extracts a document from her envelope. Ryan's signature stands out in stark black ink. Something snaps inside me. Get out. Be reasonable, Peyton. You're clearly not well. Living with your sister, no job, making wild accusations about family finances. Wild accusations? I pull out my phone, play Tom's recording. Linda's face changes as her own voice fills the air, discussing the transferred money. For the first time, her composure cracks. Where did you get that? The same place I got copies of all the transfer records. Did you really think nobody would notice? Tom, she hisses. He always was a disappointment. Like mother, like son. Her hand shoots out, grabs my wrist. Listen carefully. If you pursue this, if you try to damage this family's reputation, I will make sure you never see Dominic again. No judge will grant custody to an unstable mother who makes false accusations against her in-laws. I lean in close, my voice deadly quiet, and no judge will grant custody to grandparents who commit financial fraud. Want to test that theory? A car door slams. Ryan approaches, looking between us with confusion. Mom, what are you doing here? Explaining to your wife how her actions are hurting this family. Linda's mask slides back into place. She's clearly not thinking clearly, sweetheart. Ryan, I say, still staring at Linda. Tell me you didn't sign custody papers. He shifts uncomfortably. It's temporary, just until you get help. Help? I wrench my arm from Linda's grip. The only help I need is a lawyer. And maybe the fraud division of the FBI. Don't threaten us, Linda snaps. It's not a threat. It's a promise. I turn to Ryan. You have one chance to stand up to her, to choose your son over her control. Because if you don't, if you let her do this, you'll never see either of us again. Peyton, please, no. I step back inside. You don't get to plead. You get to choose, right now. Ryan looks at his mother, then at me. His silence says everything. Wrong choice. I close the door, engage the deadbolt. Through the window, I watch them argue on the porch, Linda gesturing emphatically, while Ryan runs his hands through his hair. Ella appears beside me. You okay? No. I press my forehead against the cool glass. But I will be. Call your lawyer friend. Tell her it's urgent. What are you gonna do? I watch Linda and Ryan retreat to their separate cars, their perfect family facade cracking like thin ice. I'm going to burn it all down, and then I'm going to build something better from the ashes. Peyton, they're trying to take my son, Ella. Everything else was just practice. This? I turn to face her, feeling calmer than I have in weeks. This is war. Through the baby monitor, I hear Dominic stirring from his nap. His innocent babbling reminds me exactly what I'm fighting for, and exactly what Linda's about to lose. The community center bustles with Linda's charity luncheon crowd, her carefully curated social circle, all pearls and pressed linens. I shouldn't be here, but Tom's text was urgent. She's making her move. Come now. I spot Ryan at the podium, shuffling papers, while Linda works the room like a queen holding court. My stomach churns when I see Dominic in her arms, wearing a tiny suit I've never seen before. Just in time, Tom murmurs, appearing beside me. They're about to announce the new family foundation. Guess who's not mentioned in the trust documents? Before I can respond, Linda taps the microphone. Welcome, everyone. Today marks a special moment for our family. I tune out her practiced speech, focusing instead on Dominic. He spots me and reaches out, but Linda turns, angling him away. Ryan watches this happen and does nothing. Furthermore, Linda continues, in light of recent concerns about my daughter-in-law's stability, we're establishing a trust for our grandson's future. Ryan will serve as sole trustee, ensuring proper management of the funds. The room erupts in polite applause. I feel the walls closing in as I realize what she's done. She's not just trying to take my son, she's erasing me completely. And now, Linda beams. I'd like to introduce our family's newest venture. Tell them about maritime investments. I call out, my voice carrying across the room. The crowd turns, murmuring. Tell them where the money really came from. Linda's smile freezes. Security, please escort. Or should I tell them? I step forward, pulling out my phone. I have proof of every transfer, every manipulation. How you drained our accounts, how you filed false reports about me at work. Peyton, stop. Ryan moves toward me, but Tom blocks his path. No, let her talk. Tom says, for once, let someone tell the truth in this family. Linda hands Dominic to a nearby friend and approaches me, voice low. You're making a scene. Think about what this will do to your custody case. I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about how you stole from your own grandson while pretending to protect him. Everything I did was for this family's legacy. Your legacy of control and manipulation. I pull up the recording, turn up the volume. Linda's voice fills the room, discussing the diverted funds. The crowd's murmuring grows louder, but Linda doesn't flinch. Instead, she smiles, that terrible, triumphant smile I've come to dread. Mark, she calls out, show them. My father-in-law steps forward, tablet in hand. He turns it toward the crowd, and my blood runs cold. On the screen is security footage of me, dated last week, taking documents from Linda's home office. Breaking and entering, Linda announces. Among other things, the police have been notified. As if on cue, 2 officers enter the room. The crowd parts like water. You set me up, I whisper, realization dawning. You knew I'd come here. Mom, this is too far, Tom protests. But Mark silences him with a look. Mrs. Anderson, one officer approaches. We need you to come with us. Ryan finally speaks up. Peyton, just go quietly, for Dominic's sake. I look at my son, still reaching for me from a stranger's arms. At Tom, whose attempt to help has backfired spectacularly. At Ryan, who can't even meet my eyes anymore. You want to arrest me? I hand my phone to Tom. Fine, but first, play the rest of the recording. The part where Linda admits to falsifying documents, where she discusses using maritime investments as a shell company. Linda's composure cracks just slightly. There is no such recording. Want to bet your reputation on that? I hold out my wrist to the officers. Because I'm willing to bet mine. The room holds its breath. Linda's eyes dart between my phone and the crowd. For the first time, she looks uncertain. But as the officers begin reading my rights, I realize it doesn't matter. Linda has won this round. She has my son, my husband, my freedom. All I have left is the truth. And right now, that feels like a very small consolation. Take care of him, I tell Tom as they lead me away. And make those copies count. The last thing I see is Linda's triumphant smile fading as Tom holds up my phone, his finger hovering over the play button. Maybe I've lost everything, but I've finally learned something important. Sometimes you have to lose it all to find your strength. And I'm not finished fighting. Not by a long shot. The charges were dropped within 48 hours, but Linda's victory party lasted much longer. I watch through Ella's laptop as her social media fills with photos. Linda, Ryan, and Dominic at parks, restaurants, charity events. A perfect family, minus one inconvenient mother. We've got her, Tom says, spreading documents across Ella's kitchen table. The forensic accountant found everything: maritime investments, the shell companies, even offshore accounts in Mark's name. I trace the paper trail of my stolen life. How long until the FBI moves? They're building the case, but there's something else. Tom slides over his phone. Linda's hosting a fundraiser tonight for her new family foundation. Every social connection she has will be there. And I got you an invitation, under my +1. The kitchen falls silent, except for Dominic's cartoons playing in the next room. I haven't seen my son in 2 weeks, not since the community center. It's a trap, Ella warns, from the doorway. Of course it is, I say, but I'm already reaching for the invitation. That's what makes it perfect. Hours later, I walk into the country club, wearing a borrowed dress, and 2 weeks of rage carefully hidden behind a smile. Linda spots me immediately, her champagne glass freezing halfway to her lips. Security, she starts to call, but Tom steps between us. My guest, he announces loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. You wouldn't want to cause a scene, would you, Mom? Linda's smile could cut glass. Of course not. Though I'm surprised by your choice of company. Really? I match her tone. I thought you'd be delighted to see your daughter-in-law, especially since I brought a gift for the foundation. I pull out a USB drive, watching her eyes track it. What is that? Everything. Bank records, emails, recorded conversations, enough evidence to bury maritime investments and everyone connected to it. I step closer, including you. You're bluffing. Try me. I have nothing left to lose, remember. The string quartet plays on as we stand locked in our private war. Then Ryan appears, Dominic in his arms. My son reaches for me instinctively, and Ryan hesitates. What's she doing here? He demands. Leaving, Linda says firmly, before I call the police. Go ahead, I tell her. I'm sure they'd be very interested in these documents, along with the FBI agents Tom contacted last week. Linda's composure cracks. You wouldn't dare destroy this family. You already did that. I'm just making it official. I turn to the crowd. Unless you'd prefer I share the details with your guests. I'm sure they'd love to know where their charitable donations are really going. What do you want? Linda hisses. My son, my freedom, and every penny you stole, with interest. Or what? I smile, channeling her own cold certainty. Or I burn your perfect world to the ground. Starting right now, I raise my voice. Ladies and gentlemen, wait. Linda grabs my arm. For the first time, I see real fear in her eyes. We can discuss this privately. No more private discussions. No more manipulation. You have until midnight to transfer everything back and sign away any claim to Dominic. Or tomorrow morning, every news outlet in the state gets copies of these files. Ryan steps forward. Peyton, please. Not another word. I cut him off. You chose your side. Now live with it. I turn to leave, but Linda's voice stops me. You think this makes you strong? You're just becoming me. I look back at her, at the woman who tried to erase me from my own life. No, Linda, I'm becoming something much more dangerous. I'm becoming free. The string quartet hits a sour note as I walk away, leaving chaos in my wake. Tom follows, carrying copies of everything on his phone. By morning, Linda will either surrender or self-destruct. Either way, I win. And as I drive home to my sleeping son's empty bed, I realize Linda was wrong about one thing. This isn't about being strong. It's about being ruthless enough to protect what matters, no matter the cost. Some lessons, it turns out, run in the family. The news breaks on a Tuesday morning. Local business empire crumbles. FBI investigates financial fraud. Linda's perfect world implodes in black and white headlines, her carefully constructed facade shattering under the weight of truth. I watch from my new apartment as reporters swarm their house. Mark emerges first, aged decades overnight, followed by Linda, her designer outfit replaced by something almost humble. The cameras catch her stumble, and for a moment, I see what Tom warned me about. The cost of becoming your enemy to defeat them. My phone buzzes. Ryan, can we talk? I find him at our old coffee shop, the one Linda always said was beneath her standards. He looks lost in his father's old sweater, nothing like the polished son she created. They're selling the house, he says without preamble. Dad's cooperating with the investigation. Mom. He trails off, staring into his untouched coffee. I know. The FBI interviewed me yesterday, piecing together Linda's web of financial manipulation. Tom told me about the plea deal. Did he tell you she asked for you? Ryan's voice cracks. Before they took her in for processing, she said she finally understands what she created. A monster? A mirror. The word hangs between us like smoke. Outside, autumn leaves scatter across the parking lot, free and directionless. I'm not taking you back, I say, before he can ask. Some things can't be fixed. I know. He pulls out an envelope. That's not why I'm here. These are the divorce papers, and he swallows hard. I'm not contesting custody. Dominic needs his mother, his real mother, not someone's idea of one. The papers feel heavy, like they're made of more than just legal jargon and broken promises. Why now? Because I finally saw myself through Dominic's eyes, a son so afraid of disappointing his mother that he forgot how to be a father. He stands, leaving his coffee untouched. I'll have my lawyer contact yours about visitation. He's at the door when I call out, Ryan? He turns. Was any of it real? Us? Yes, he says softly, until I let her make it about her. After he leaves, I drive to Ella's to pick up Dominic. She's watching the news coverage, but mutes it when I enter. Linda called, she says, from the detention center. What did she want? To tell you she's sorry, and that she hopes you'll be a better mother than she was. I laugh, but it comes out more like a sob. That's not exactly a high bar. No, Ella agrees, but maybe that's not the point. Dominic runs in from his nap, launching himself into my arms. Mama, I drawed you a picture. The crayon drawing shows 3 figures, him, me, and Tom. No Ryan, no Linda, no ghosts of what should have been, just what is. That evening, as I'm tucking him into bed in our new home, he asks, are we gonna see Grandma again? I stroke his hair, choosing my words carefully. Not for a while, baby. Grandma has to learn some important lessons. About being nice? About being true. He accepts this with a child's simple wisdom and drifts off to sleep. I stand at his window, watching the city lights flicker like stars. My phone buzzes one last time. A message from Tom. Mom's asking to see you. Your choice. I think about Linda, sitting in detention, stripped of her designer armor and social weapons. About Ryan, finally breaking free of her shadow. About Mark, facing the consequences of his silent complicity. But mostly I think about the woman I was when this started. Desperate to belong, to be accepted, to be enough. That woman died in Linda's perfectly manicured garden of manipulation and control. What grew in her place is something stronger, but also something scarred. I text back, not yet. Maybe someday I'll be ready to face Linda again, to hear her explanations or apologies or whatever she thinks will ease her conscience. But for now, I have my son, my freedom, and a hard-won understanding that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in refusing to become them. I delete the message thread and turn away from the window. Tomorrow will bring its own battles, its own choices. But tonight, in this moment, I am finally completely free. And that's enough.